Urgent Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Do not miss this. What just happened? You won't believe this one. But before we reveal the big news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because here, we bring you daily videos with the latest Pittsburgh Steelers updates. And to not miss anything, activate the notifications. Hey there, Steelers Nation. Today, we've got some pretty intriguing news that might just shake up the quarterback landscape in Pittsburgh. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, what's going on with the Steelers QB room? Well, let's dive into a story that's been quietly developing behind the scenes, but could have major implications for the Steel City this offseason. It's about a name that's been floating around NFL circles for a while, Carson Wentz. Yes, you heard that right, Carson Wentz, the former Eagles quarterback, who's had quite the roller coaster journey through the league, might be heading to Pittsburgh. And no, this isn't just some rumor, there's some real substance behind it, and it's worth paying attention to. Now, first, let's set the stage. The Steelers have been in a bit of a transitional phase at quarterback. Mason Rudolph is back, but let's be honest, he's not exactly the long-term solution most fans are hoping for. The team picked up Will Howard out of Ohio State in this year's draft, a young guy with potential, but still very raw and unproven at the NFL level. So, if you're looking at this roster, it's clear that the Steelers are in a bit of a holding pattern, trying to figure out how to fortify that position without making a big splash. And that's where Wentz could come into play. For those who might not remember, Carson Wentz, now 32, has had a career full of ups and downs. He burst onto the scene with the Eagles, leading them to the playoffs and delivering an MVP-caliber season in 2017, a year that's etched in NFL history. But, unfortunately, injuries and inconsistency started to creep in, and his time in Philadelphia ended in disappointment. Since then, Wentz has been bouncing around the league, first with the Indianapolis Colts, then with Washington, and most recently with Kansas City. His stint with the Chiefs was mostly behind the scenes, but it was still valuable. Spending a year in Andy Reid's complex offense at least gave him a chance to refine his game and stay sharp as a veteran presence. Here's the thing, Wentz's current situation is pretty interesting. He spent the 2024 season backing up Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, which is arguably one of the best quarterback situations in the league. But now, with the summer approaching and the Chiefs opting not to bring him back for 2025, Wentz finds himself as a free agent, searching for a new team. The market for him has been slow to develop, and frankly, options are limited for a veteran like him. The NFL, as you all know, is a league that loves stability at the quarterback position, but it also values experienced backups who can step in when needed. Wentz fits that mold, and that's why his name is now being seriously considered by teams like Pittsburgh. Now, let's talk about why Wentz might be a good fit, or at least a sensible stopgap, for the Steelers. First off, the current QB room in Pittsburgh leaves a lot to be desired. Mason Rudolph has been around, but he's yet to prove he can be a reliable starter or even a consistent backup. The team also invested a 6th-round pick on Will Howard in this year's draft, which is promising but still very much a developmental project. So, what the Steelers really need is someone with NFL experience, someone who can step in and provide stability, leadership, and a bit of a veteran presence, especially in a season where the team is still figuring out its identity. That's where Carson Wentz comes into play. Despite not having started a full season since 2021, he's still seen by many NFL insiders as a potentially useful backup, or even a low-risk, high-reward option if circumstances call for it. Remember, Wentz has been through a lot, injuries, team changes, and the ups and downs of NFL life, and he's still relatively young in terms of quarterback age, especially compared to some of the veteran names floating around the league. His experience in high-pressure situations, combined with his familiarity with complex offensive schemes, makes him a candidate that the Steelers might consider, especially if their initial plans for the season don't pan out as hoped. Let's also consider Wentz's recent NFL journey. After his time in Indianapolis, where he was often criticized for his inconsistency and decision-making, he moved on to Washington, where he struggled to find his footing and was eventually benched. His time in Washington was marked by flashes of brilliance but also a lot of inconsistency, and that's been a recurring theme in his career. But despite that, he has shown resilience. His stint with Kansas City was somewhat quiet but professionally valuable, working behind Mahomes and learning from one of the best defensive minds in the game, Andy Reid. That kind of experience, even from the sidelines, can be a huge asset for a team in need of depth and leadership at quarterback. Now, why would Pittsburgh consider Wentz? Well, for starters, the Steelers aren't necessarily looking for a superstar at this stage. They're more interested in stability, mentorship, and having someone who can step in if needed. Wentz, with his veteran status, could serve as a reliable backup behind a younger, more promising starter, whether that's Kenny Pickett, who showed flashes last season but still has a lot to prove, or another emerging talent. And if, by some chance, the Steelers decide to hold on to Wentz as a bridge to the future or even as a potential starter if things go sideways, it's a gamble that's not overly risky. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but Wentz hasn't been the same since 2017, and you're right. He's not the MVP candidate he once was, and his ceiling isn't what it used to be. But in today's NFL, where quarterback stability is often elusive, names like Wentz still carry weight. They're veterans who understand how to manage a game, who can keep the offense afloat in a pinch, and who can mentor younger players. Plus, the Steelers, historically, have been a team that values toughness and resilience, and Wentz embodies a lot of those qualities. It's also worth mentioning the broader context of the NFL quarterback landscape this year. The league is somewhat in flux, with several big-name quarterbacks either moving teams or being linked to new destinations. Aaron Rodgers, for instance, has been the hot topic of discussion, and the Steelers have been rumored to be interested in him. But if that deal doesn't materialize, or if Rodgers decides to stay where he is, teams like Pittsburgh need to pivot and explore other options. Wentz's name surfaces as a logical fallback, a guy who's familiar with the league, has experience in various offensive systems, and can step into the fold with relative ease. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, and Wentz's fit in Pittsburgh isn't a slam dunk. But the fact that his name is being discussed in such conversations indicates that he's still on the NFL radar. The Steelers, with their current roster and their ongoing quest for stability at quarterback, might see him as a low-cost, high-upside option to fill that role, someone who can be a steady presence, mentor, and emergency starter if needed. Now, looking ahead, what does this mean for Steelers fans? Well, it's a reminder that the team is always exploring options, always trying to find the best way to position themselves for success. Whether Wentz actually signs or not, it's clear that Pittsburgh recognizes the need to bolster that quarterback room, especially in a league that's become so unpredictable. The team's coaching staff, led by head coach Mike Tomlin, has a reputation for making smart, strategic moves, and bringing in a veteran like Wentz could be part of that plan to keep the team competitive while developing their young talent. And, let's not forget, the Steelers have a rich history of finding value in veteran players. Whether it's the legendary Terry Bradshaw or more recent examples like Ben Roethlisberger, Pittsburgh has always appreciated players who bring leadership and experience to the locker room. Wentz, despite his ups and downs, could fit that mold perfectly. He'd be someone to lean on in practice, in meetings, and when the chips are down on game day. In the end, it's all about perspective. The Steelers are at a crossroads, and the quarterback position is one of the most critical pieces of their puzzle. A potential signing of Carson Wentz might not excite everyone, but it's a move rooted in practicality. It's about stability, experience, and giving the team a fighting chance in a competitive AFC. It's also about the possibility of a fresh start, a chance for Wentz to revive his career in a familiar environment, with a team that values resilience and grit. So, Steelers fans, stay tuned. This story is far from over. Whether Wentz ends up in Pittsburgh or not, it's a clear sign that the team is actively exploring ways to improve and adapt. The offseason is always full of surprises, and this one could be a game-changer if it comes to fruition. Keep your eyes on the news, stay engaged, and get ready for what's shaping up to be an exciting ride ahead. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you think Carson Wentz would be a good fit? Are you excited or skeptical about the idea? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news, analysis, and everything you need to stay in the loop. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Steelers!